You know, life has a funny way of throwing us into situations where we're expected to chase after something or someone. Society tells us that love, success, and even our dreams are things we should be running toward, almost like we're constantly trying to catch something that's just out of reach. Whether it's a relationship, a career opportunity, or a personal goal, the expectation is clear: chase it. But what happens when you don't chase? What happens when you stop running after everything and start walking your own path, heading toward the life you want on your own terms? Let's think about it. When you chase, what are you really doing? You're putting yourself in a position where you're waiting for someone or something to validate you, to tell you that you're worthy of their attention or their love, their respect. But when you shift that focus from chasing them to finding your own footing, it changes everything. Suddenly, you're not just hoping for validation, you're giving it to yourself. You showing up for yourself in a way that others didn't expect. And that's powerful. I want to be real with you for a moment. We've all been in situations where we feel like we have to prove something, right? Whether it's proving our worth to a partner, to a friend, or to our boss, there's this underlying belief that we're not enough unless we're chasing after what we want. But that's a lie. And it's a lie that too many of us fall for day in and day out. We believe that the more we chase, the closer we get to what we desire. But the reality is, chasing only makes us more distant from what we truly need. I'm telling you, when you stop chasing, you're not giving up on your dreams or your desires. What you're doing is choosing a different path, one where you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to run after something that was never yours to begin with. And in that moment, when you stop, you start attracting things and people who respect you, not because you chase them down, but because they see the power in you standing still, holding your ground. You ever notice how when you stop running, people around you start noticing something different? It's almost like they start questioning what they took for granted. When you stop chasing, you send a message, not in words, but in actions. You're not desperate for approval or attention. You're not willing to bend over backwards to fit into someone else's expectations. And let me tell you, that's when the game changes. People expect you to chase because it gives them a sense of control, a sense of power. But when you stop chasing, they no longer have that hold over you. And that's uncomfortable for them. They thought they knew you. They thought you were predictable. But now you're something different. You're someone who understands their own value, someone who knows that their happiness doesn't depend on the validation of others. This is when they begin to realize something they didn't expect. You're always more than what they thought. When you're no longer chasing them, when you're no longer jumping through hoops to get their attention, they start looking at you differently. They wonder what changed. They wonder why you're not running after them anymore. And in that moment, they feel something they didn't feel before: regret. They start regretting that they didn't appreciate you for who you were all along, not because you were chasing after them, but because you were whole and complete as you are. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about playing games or trying to make someone jealous. This isn't about manipulating the situation for your benefit. It's about understanding your own worth. It's about saying, I'm not going to chase after something that doesn't see me for who I truly am. I'm not going to bend myself out of shape to fit into someone else's world. And when you stop chasing, you give yourself permission to grow, to focus on your own goals, your own dreams, your own happiness. You don't need anyone else to validate you because you've already done it for yourself. And that's when everything changes. Because let's face it, when you start living for yourself, when you stop chasing and start living in your own light, that's when you become the person everyone else wishes they had paid attention to. and they will regret not seeing you for what you truly were the whole time. But by then, it won't matter. You'll already be too busy living your best life, thriving on your own terms, and attracting the people who value you the way you always deserved. And trust me, that's exactly what they didn't expect. When you choose to focus on your own growth, something remarkable happens. It's like a switch flips, and suddenly the world begins to treat you differently, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've decided to change how you show up in it. It's easy to forget that before we can give our energy to anything or anyone else, we have to give it to ourselves. And I'm talking about more than just self-care or taking a moment to relax. I'm talking about truly investing in your own personal development, in your own vision of who you are and what you want to achieve. You see, independence doesn't just happen overnight. It's a choice. It's a mindset. It's about waking up every day and saying, I am worthy of the best. I deserve to pursue my dreams, my happiness, my success. The thing is, when you start putting that kind of energy into yourself, you stop seeing yourself as someone who's just a passive player in life, waiting for opportunities to fall into your lap. No, you become an active participant. You take control. You realize that your happiness isn't something that's given to you. It's something you create, something you build, piece by piece. This shift doesn't always come easily. There's always a period of doubt, a time when you wonder if you're doing the right thing, when you question if you're truly worth investing in. But I'm telling you, the moment you make the decision to choose yourself, everything changes. And here's the kicker. The more you focus on your own growth, the more you start to see how much power you really have. You begin to realize that you're not waiting for someone else to give you permission to succeed. You're not waiting for someone else to tell you that you're capable. You already know. You've already proven it to yourself. What happens next? That's when the magic kicks in. When you prioritize your own success, when you stop chasing and start creating, you become a magnet for the things and people that are meant to be a part of your journey. They see you standing tall, they see your confidence, and they realize that they can't just walk into your life on their terms. You've set the bar, and they have to meet it. The best part, you've set it high because you understand your value now. You know that you're worth the effort, the commitment, the respect. There's something incredibly freeing about being able to say no. No to relationships that don't serve you. No to opportunities that don't align with your goals. No to anything that distracts you from your mission. When you make the decision to put yourself first, you start making choices that honor your own needs, your own aspirations. You stop allowing other people's expectations to dictate your journey. And let me tell you, that's when you'll begin to see results. The truth is, a lot of people don't know what to do when you stop chasing. They don't know how to react when you decide that your life, your growth, and your success are more important than their approval. You see, we live in a world where many people have been conditioned to think that we're supposed to go after things in a certain way. But when you break that mold, when you take a step back and choose to focus on yourself instead of constantly trying to please everyone around you, that's when you find the real power within you. It's important to remember that the moment you start working on yourself, whether it's getting your education, improving your mental health, strengthening your relationships, or building your career, you begin to build something far more valuable than external validation. You build confidence, you build resilience, you build the kind of strength that doesn't depend on anyone else. And when you do that, the right people will notice. They'll see you thriving, and they'll want to be part of that journey. They'll want to contribute to it, to support it, because they recognize that you are the real deal. This doesn't mean that you'll never face setbacks. It doesn't mean there won't be moments of self-doubt or times when the road gets tough. But what it does mean is that you'll have the tools to handle it. You'll have the inner strength to keep pushing forward, even when the world around you seems to be telling you to slow down or take a step back. Because when you've made the decision to focus on your own growth, you become unstoppable. And here's the real power of it. As you focus on yourself, as you grow and evolve, you stop giving your energy to things that drain you, to people who don't appreciate you, and to situations that aren't moving you forward. Instead, you focus on the things that lift you up, that challenge you, that push you to be the best version of yourself. And when you do that, you start to see just how much you're capable of achieving. So take a moment and think about this. When was the last time you really invested in yourself? When was the last time you put your growth, your success, and your happiness at the top of your list? The moment you make that choice, the world will start responding to you in ways you never expected. And the best part, you'll look back and realize that the most powerful thing you could ever do was stop chasing and start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. When we talk about self-worth, we're really talking about understanding and embracing who you are at your core, no more, no less. You see, so many of us are conditioned to look for validation outside of ourselves. We think that the more we accomplish, the more we give, the more we chase after someone's approval, the more we'll feel like we matter. But let me tell you something that might change the way you look at your life. Your worth is not dependent on anyone's opinion of you. It never was and it never will be. Too often we make the mistake of tying our self-worth to what others think. We're constantly seeking approval, constantly trying to prove ourselves, whether it's to a boss, a friend, a partner, or even a stranger. We think that if we just work harder, if we just show up more, if we just say the right things, we'll finally get that recognition, that sense of, yes, you're enough. But here's the thing, no one can give that to you because it's not theirs to give. It's yours to claim, and it starts with knowing that you are already enough, exactly as you are. It's easy to fall into the trap of feeling like we're not enough, especially when the world constantly tells us that we need more. More money, more success, more followers, more likes, more praise. But when you start focusing on your own growth, when you begin building a foundation based on self-love, everything changes. Because here's what happens. When you know your worth, you stop accepting less than you deserve. You stop settling for relationships, jobs, or opportunities that don't align with who you truly are. You stop bending and stretching yourself just to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You start setting standards, and you begin to demand respect, not because you're looking for it, but because you know that you already earned it. And here's the beautiful part about that. When you begin to operate from a place of self-worth, the people who truly see your value will be drawn to you. They'll notice you in a way that's different because now you're not playing the game of chase anymore. You're standing in your power, in your truth, and that's magnetic. You'll find that the right people, the ones who genuinely appreciate you, will come into your life. And the ones who don't, they'll fade away. And that's okay. Because your energy is too precious to waste on people who don't recognize your value. It's not always easy to believe in yourself, especially when life seems to keep throwing obstacles in your way. There will be times when you feel like you're not good enough, times when you wonder if you're on the right path, times when you wonder if anyone even notices all the effort you put in. But let me tell you, your value is not determined by the setbacks or the struggles you face. Your worth is inherent, not contingent on what you accomplish or how much recognition you get. You are valuable simply because you exist. And when you truly understand that, nothing or no one can take that away from you. When you stand in your self-worth, something extraordinary happens. The noise around you begins to quiet down. The need for external validation begins to fade, and in its place, there's a quiet confidence that comes from within. You start making decisions based on what's best for you, not what's going to please others or fit into someone else's expectations. And the more you do that, the more aligned you become with your true self, the more you create a life that reflects your true values and desires. But you've got to believe it first. You got to believe that you are worthy of all the success, love, and respect that life has to offer. And when you do, you'll see how it begins to shift everything around you. You'll start attracting people who recognize your value, people who don't want to just take from you, but who want to give, to support, to stand beside you as you chase your dreams. And the best part, you'll stop wasting time on people who make you feel small, who make you feel like you need to earn their approval. Because once you know your worth, that's no longer a game you're willing to play. The world has a funny way of making us question ourselves, of making us think that we're not enough, that we need to prove something. But trust me, when you start living from a place of self-worth, that noise starts to fade. You stop chasing things that are out of alignment with your truth, and you begin to attract what's meant for you. And when you do that, when you stop looking for validation and instead look inward to see how much you've already grown, how much you've already achieved, how much you already have to offer, that's when your life begins to change in ways you never imagined. So let me leave you with this. Your worth is not something that needs to be earned. It's something that's already within you, waiting to be recognized. Once you realize that, everything else will fall into place. Because when you know your worth, you stop chasing and you start living in a way that honors the powerful, incredible person you already are. And that's when everything shifts. When you stop chasing and start living for yourself, something profound happens, an unspoken shift in the dynamic around you. People start noticing. They begin to feel the change. And suddenly, they're asking themselves questions they hadn't even considered before. Why is she not running after me anymore? Why isn't he chasing after this opportunity like he used to? It's not about trying to manipulate or play games. It's about showing up for yourself in a way that makes others see you differently. You see, when you chase, you put yourself in a position of vulnerability. You're often doing it out of a need for approval, a need to be seen, to be validated. And when you're constantly in pursuit of someone or something, the energy you're putting out is one of desperation, even if you don't realize it. People can sense it. But when you stop chasing, when you start focusing on your own growth and your own journey, something changes. It's almost like a reset. The energy around you shifts. All of a sudden, those people who once took your presence for granted are now noticing something different in you. There's a quiet strength about you, a calm confidence that comes from within. You're no longer giving away your power by chasing after something or someone who doesn't see you for your worth. And in that moment, they realize they missed something important. They miss you. They miss seeing the person you were before you started running after them or running after validation. This is the thing about the unspoken dynamic. When you stop chasing, it doesn't always come with an explanation. You don't have to explain to anyone why you've stopped giving them your energy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing to prioritize yourself. But as you do, they begin to feel the weight of your absence. Not because you're gone, but because your energy is shifted. Your focus is no longer on them, but on you. And that makes them sit up and pay attention. They start wondering, what happened? Why aren't you coming around like you used to? Why aren't you giving them the time, the attention, the effort that you once did? And here's where it gets interesting. The people who once expected you to always be there always ready to chase after them or their approval, start to regret not seeing your worth sooner. They realize that they took you for granted. They realize that they thought you'd always be available to them, always willing to meet their needs, always ready to show up and give them whatever they wanted. But now they have to reconsider. Now they have to ask themselves, what did I miss? The problem is, by the time they realize what they had, it's often too late. You've already moved on. You're no longer invested in proving yourself to someone who never fully appreciated you. You found your own path, your own voice, and you're moving forward with a sense of purpose and confidence that can't be shaken. And the regret, it hits them like a wave because they realize that they didn't truly see you when you were right in front of them. They didn't see your worth, your strength, and your resilience. But you know what? That's okay. Because in the end, the people who truly matter, the ones who see you for who you really are, will respect the fact that you stopped chasing and started living for yourself. They'll see the quiet power in your decision to focus on your own journey, and they'll understand that if they want to be part of your life, they need to show up with the same level of respect, commitment, and appreciation that you show yourself. This unspoken dynamic isn't about making people regret their actions. It's not about trying to get revenge or make someone feel bad for not appreciating you sooner. It's about reclaiming your energy, your time, and your life. It's about setting boundaries, standing up for your own worth, and showing others that your value isn't something they can just take for granted. And when you do that, they'll start to recognize it. They'll see the shift in you, and they'll understand that they can't just waltz in and out of your life whenever it's convenient for them. At the same time, it's not just about others, it's about you. It's about recognizing that your time, your attention, and your energy are precious. When you stop chasing, you stop giving away your power to situations or people who aren't in alignment with your growth and your vision. Instead, you start directing that energy inward, focusing on the things and people that truly deserve it. And here's the truth. Once you start living for yourself, once you stop chasing, the people who are meant to be in your life will find their way back to you. Not because you chase them, but because they recognize the strength and value in your presence. They'll appreciate you for who you are, not for what you can do for them or how much you can give. And that's the kind of energy you want in your life, the kind of energy that matches your own, the kind of relationships that are built on mutual respect, understanding, and growth. So remember this, when you stop chasing, you don't just change the way others see you, you change the way you see yourself. And that, my friends, is the real power. When you stop chasing and begin focusing on your own journey, you start to realize something incredibly important. The way you view yourself changes. It's like you're finally seeing yourself for who you truly are, not for who others want you to be or who you've been trying to be for them. When you stop looking outward for validation and begin looking inward, you start to understand the immense power that lies within you. The truth is, too many of us have been conditioned to measure our worth by external standards. We look at social media, we look at what our peers are doing, we compare ourselves to others, and we try to measure up. We chase things that aren't even ours, trying to prove to the world and sometimes to ourselves that we belong. But when you stop running after everyone else's expectations and start investing in your own personal growth, something incredible happens. You start to see your own value. Not the value that others place on you, but the value that has always been inside of you. This shift isn't always easy. It's a process of letting go of old beliefs, old habits, and old ways of thinking. But once you start letting go of the idea that you need to chase after approval or recognition, you begin to find freedom. You start to realize that you don't need anyone's permission to live the life you've always dreamed of. You are enough, just as you are. And when you embrace that truth, you start to move through the world with a newfound confidence. Here's what happens next. When you stop chasing, you start to see things differently. You start to see the opportunities that were always there, but that you couldn't see because you were too busy running in circles trying to keep up. The people who appreciate you for who you truly are start to show up. And the ones who never truly valued you begin to fade into the background. You stop chasing after people who are only interested in what they can get from you. And instead, you start attracting the kind of people who value what you bring to the table. It's not that you're cutting people out of your life, it's that you're creating space for the right people to come in. People who will add to your life instead of draining it. People who won't require you to chase after them, but will respect you for who you are and support you in your growth. And when that shift happens, when you stop chasing and start living authentically, you'll find that everything starts falling into place. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. When you stop chasing, you start investing in that relationship. You begin to understand your own needs, desires, and boundaries. You stop looking for someone else to tell you who you are and start embracing the truth that you already have everything you need within you. But here's the kicker. When you start to value yourself, the world around you changes. People treat you differently. Opportunities begin to open up. You start to feel more aligned with the life you want to create, and you begin to attract the experiences and people who are in alignment with your new energy. This isn't about waiting for the perfect moment to make a change. This isn't about waiting for everything to line up perfectly before you start living your life fully. It's about realizing that the moment you stop chasing, the moment you choose to show up for yourself, that's when everything starts to shift. That's when you start moving toward the life you've always wanted and the life that's truly meant for you. When you stop chasing, you stop living for someone else's expectations. You stop trying to prove yourself to the world, and you start creating a life that reflects your true values, your true purpose. You stop living in reaction to the opinions of others, and you start living intentionally, with purpose, with clarity. And when that shift happens, the regret from the people who never truly saw your worth becomes inevitable. Because when you choose to live authentically, you stop putting energy into places where it's not reciprocated, and you start channeling that energy into yourself. You stop wasting time on people who don't appreciate you, and you start creating space for those who will. The regret is theirs, not yours. Because the more you invest in yourself, the more you attract the people and experiences that align with your true self. You stop being available to the ones who took you for granted, and you begin making room for those who recognize your value. And when you do that, when you live in a way that reflects your true worth, you start to see your life transform in ways you never thought possible. The most powerful thing you can do is to stop chasing. The moment you stop looking outside for validation and start looking inside, you unlock a power that's been within you all along. And once you start living from that place of self-truth, everything changes. The world begins to notice. And those who once thought they could take you for granted, they'll regret it. But by then, you'll be too busy living your best life to care. There comes a moment in life when you realize something truly powerful. Regret, no matter how deep or how real, doesn't change what's already happened. It doesn't rewrite history or undo the mistakes, missed opportunities, or misjudgments. Regret is a heavy burden that some people carry for far too long, but the truth is, it's a choice. And when you stop chasing after things that were never meant for you, when you finally let go of the idea that you have to prove yourself or chase after people or situations that don't recognize your worth, you begin to free yourself from that burden of regret. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that regret doesn't have its place. There are things in life that will leave us wishing we had done things differently. We'll look back on past relationships, missed opportunities, or unmade decisions and think, what if I had just chosen differently? But the key is this: regret isn't about the past, it's about what you do with what you have now, because you can't change the past. You can't undo what's already been done. But what you can do is learn from it and choose differently moving forward. Here's what I want you to understand: the people who once expected you to chase, who took you for granted or made you feel like you had to prove your worth to them, they're the ones who will regret their actions. They'll regret not recognizing the value in front of them when it was there. And they'll regret that they didn't see you for who you truly were until it was too late. But here's the thing about regret: it's not something you have to carry. It's their burden, not yours. When you stop chasing, when you stop running after approval or validation from others, you start to step into a new version of yourself. You start living for yourself. You start seeing the beauty in the choices you're making, the strength in the decisions you're taking, and the power in letting go of what no longer serves you. And here's what's important about that: when you stop chasing, you stop waiting for people to recognize your worth. You stop waiting for their acknowledgement, their validation. You stop waiting for anyone to give you permission to live the life you've always dreamed of. And when you stop waiting, something incredible happens. You take control of your own life. The regret of others is not your responsibility. It never was. But the regret you feel about your own life, about missed opportunities or moments you feel you should have acted differently, is something you can absolutely take charge of. It's about choosing to make different decisions today. It's about learning from your past, using that wisdom, and doing better from this moment forward. And that's the key to moving forward: using your past to fuel your growth, not to keep you stuck. You see, when you start living for yourself, when you stop chasing after others and start focusing on your own path, you begin to break free from the cycle of regret. You begin to understand that your time is too valuable to waste on things that aren't aligned with who you are and where you're going. You stop looking back at what could have been and start focusing on what is right in front of you, what you can control right now. And here's the thing: when you stop chasing, when you stop living in the past or for someone else's validation, you start living in the present. You begin to appreciate the journey you're on instead of focusing on what's been missed. Regret becomes something that belongs to the past, and you can move on from it, making the choice to live in the present, embracing the power you hold over your own life. Now, I know that the past can sometimes feel like it weighs us down. We feel like we've missed chances, like we've been too late, like we've wasted time. But the truth is, the only way to truly regret something is to keep holding on to it, to keep letting it have power over you. And when you finally let go of chasing, let go of living in the shadows of someone else's expectations, you release that power the past has over you. You take back control. You step into your own strength. And yes, there will always be moments where you feel a twinge of regret. There will be moments where you look back and wonder what could have been if you had done something differently. But what you do with that regret is what matters. You use it, you learn from it, and you choose to be better, to live a life that is in alignment with who you truly are. When you do that, regret fades into the background. It becomes a part of your story, but it no longer defines you. The people who regret not recognizing your worth, they'll learn the hard way. Because when you stop chasing, when you stop living for them, they'll see what they've lost. And trust me, when they realize that they took you for granted, it won't be your problem anymore. You've already moved on. You've already grown. You've already created a life for yourself that is full of purpose, full of meaning, and full of people who truly see and appreciate you for who you are. And that, my friends, is a life worth living. So stop chasing, stop living in regret, stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to live your best life. Take control today and watch how the world changes around you. Because when you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for something better. And that something better, it's waiting for you.